Hello, we've had our Hyundai IONIQ Electric for a UK winter, a UK summer, and now we're in the middle of a UK winter again. So how is the IONIQ's winter performance holding up? In this video we'll talk about efficiency, range and traction, and some problems I've had in wintertime with the car. Electrical efficiency. Zero tailpipe. Before starting out, it's probably worth being clear what I mean here by a UK winter and a UK summer. The first winter we had the IONIQ, the start of 2018, was a bit unusual. We had a lot more snow than usual, whereas the winter is typically sort of just rainy and windy. Temperatures in the range -5 degrees Celsius up to about +5 degrees Celsius. Summer, again, the summer of 2018, the only one I've been through with our IONIQ Electric, was a bit unusual. So typical UK summer temperatures where we are about 15 degrees Celsius to about 25 degrees Celsius. So let's talk first then about comparing the UK summer and winter efficiency that I've experienced. Now it's this odd measure in the UK of miles per kilowatt hour. So I'll put up captions for different ways of understanding that, but I'll use those for now. Now the efficiency is very much dependent upon, distance, elevation, driving speed, traffic conditions, headwinds and all sorts of other factors. So the only thing I can really do is to show you my sort of typical journey efficiency numbers, assuming that my sort of journey patterns are roughly similar across different kind of lengths of journeys that I make, because I make a lot of typical journeys rather than lots of one-off journeys. So I can compare those a little bit between the summer figures and the winter figures, and we'll see what we come out with. So for the winter figures then, I've been back through all the videos I have where I've kind of recorded the kind of efficiencies of particular trips, and I see that the range is from about 2.6 miles per kilowatt hour up to about sort of 4.9 or even 5.2. So I'm taking the range there for winter to be about 2.5 miles per kilowatt hour up to 5 miles per kilowatt hour as a kind of reasonable estimate. So the worst efficiencies there, the sort of lower number, is due to short journeys where the car is being heated up, stopped, the car and maybe the battery are going cold and then being heated up again. So lots of short journeys where they're not very efficient, and for longer journeys the efficiency tends to stabilize in the 4 to 5 miles per kilowatt hour kind of area. Then doing the same thing for my typical trips in the summertime, the mid 2018 period, we get a range of about 5 miles per kilowatt hour up to even kind of 7 miles per kilowatt hour, and some sort of best figures in the range of about 5 miles per kilowatt hour up to even 8.3 miles per kilowatt hour. But some of these are slightly downhill, so I don't think they're representative of the kind of overall. And then in terms of the ranges I've seen, where I've kind of left the sort of trip meter running and seen cumulative efficiencies over a number of trips of different characters, different sort of lengths and elevations and so on, the summer figures were more like 6.1 miles per kilowatt hour as an average over many journeys. And in the winters, it's been more like 4.2 miles per kilowatt hour. Occasionally, of course, for very short journeys, very short daps here and there where I'm mainly just sort of coasting downhill, you can see some very anomalous figures of, I even recorded one of 19.2 miles per kilowatt hour, but that's practically just rolling and not representative or indicative of proper real-world driving. If we take the 2.5 miles per kilowatt hour as the lower end of the range of the efficiency in winter, and 5 miles per kilowatt hour as the lower end of the range in kind of summer, especially in the warmer summers, in the above plus sort of 20 degrees Celsius, it's about a 50% loss of efficiency in winter conditions compared to summer. Taking at the kind of best end, the upper end of the efficiency ranges between winter and summer, we see more like between 5 miles per kilowatt hour at the upper end of the best performance in winter, and let's take, say, 7 miles per kilowatt hour as the absolute top end of the summer performance in realistic conditions. So there we're looking at an efficiency loss of about 30% in winter conditions. There's definitely energy use in terms of heating the windscreen to keep it clear in colder temperatures, putting the seat warmers on, putting the steering wheel heater on, and heating the rear windscreen if you have to. So I've got footage here of how the power draw goes up step by step as you switch on each one of these different features of the car in cold weather. So how do these efficiency losses of between sort of 30 to 50% then, how do they translate into the usable range of the IONIQ Electric? The longer the journey, the better this seems to turn out to be in terms of the car settling. It also helps if you preheat it, if you've heated the battery by charging the car a bit before you set off, or if you've rapid charged it before setting off. I'm going to go by the indicated range on the car here because it's kind of comparable again with my own use patterns that are typical journeys throughout the year. And at 100% in winter conditions at 0 degrees Celsius, we have an estimate of 137 miles with the heating off, or 127 miles with the climate on, set to about 20 degrees. And this is before the journey has started, so that sort of 10-mile range loss might not actually work out. It might be less than that once the car has warmed up and the climate system has kind of reduced its energy draw. In summer conditions then, the best estimated range I've ever seen from the car is 170 miles. And more typically this would be about 160 miles, I think was more common. Looking at the range loss then from summer to winter, this would be about 20% if we take it, say, 170 down to 137, or about 25% if we consider it from 170 to 127. So I think across a longer typical journey, you can look at losing about 20 to 25% of your actual total estimated range. So not quite one-to-one in terms of what the efficiency predictions give you and what the range predictions give you comparing winter and summer conditions. So now let's talk about traction compared in the summer and in the winter for the IONIQ Electric. Now the IONIQ Electric is front-wheel drive. It has a kind of roughly 50-50 weight balance because the battery's in the back of the car. So I find it doesn't have particularly good traction in any conditions. I've read reviews of the car that say that if you turn the traction control off, you can spin the wheels up to 35 miles an hour, even in kind of summer conditions if the road is a little bit wet. Definitely in the first winter with the car, in around about March 2018, when we had the so-called beast from the east and a lot of snow and ice packed underneath it, I literally couldn't get off my drive. In these conditions, I couldn't get off the drive. This winter, the wheels will spin on icy patches, as we can see here. And generally, I wouldn't be as confident in the traction of the car as I used to be in our Nissan Leaf, which was heavier at the front, I think. Overall, though, there is an issue, though, because of the milder conditions we typically have for winter here in the UK, particularly where I am in the north of England. People don't generally tend to use winter tyres or snow tyres, so that's a factor as well. If you use appropriate tyres to the conditions, the traction on the IONIQ might be better. One of the most watched videos about the IONIQ is Bjorn Nilon's test of it in very wintry, icy conditions, again with the appropriate tyres, and he didn't have any problems at all. So we do know that the IONIQ Electric will work in those kind of conditions if equipped correctly. So moving to problems I've had with the IONIQ Electric in wintertime, I can name two. Firstly, we've had the charge port door freeze, just from a little bit of ice on the bottom of it, and that's caused me problems twice so far this particular winter, where I haven't been able to get the charge port door open by pressing the release button inside the car. And in the winter conditions from March 2018, where it was a lot colder, I think there were some issues with kind of ice forming around different parts of the car, and the front doors wouldn't open, they wouldn't unlock properly. And I had to get in through the back of the car, which there's a bit of a silly reconstruction of how I did it here. So I basically went in through the back, lift back of the car, and had to pop one of the rear doors. I'd managed to get in initially, but then the doors wouldn't unlock and there was just lots of beeping sounds. And I think it was due to ice in the lock mechanisms and so on. So to quickly wrap up, I mean, I'm quite happy with the performance of the IONIQ Electric in winter. I think if I was using proper winter snow tyres, it would be even better. The efficiency loss, particularly on short journeys where you're heating the car up a lot and maybe the battery's going cold again, can seem quite extreme, but I think that kind of evens out to, you know, about a 20% loss over longer journeys when you actually get to the sort of full range that you're expecting out of the car, so that's not too bad. 20% loss in winter also agrees with this infographic that I found online, and this puts it down mainly to the energy cost of heating the cabin, because you don't have a kind of internal combustion engine that's heating up and is available then as a source of waste heat to heat the cabin. Okay, so I hope you've enjoyed this video about our electric car in wintertime, our IONIQ Electric, and how it's performing compared to summer conditions, and I'd like to hear from you as well. What are your experiences of using an electric car in winter in your particular setting? I'm going to leave you a little bit here with some footage of a device I wish was available for when we do get some more icy conditions for our car, which were these really cool de-icing shower machines at an airport I was at recently, where people are obviously dealing with winter conditions on a daily basis and they found this way to do with it. So I thought this footage was pretty cool and I'm going to play out with that. Okay, please subscribe and comment if you'd like to, and bye for now.